everybody, it's Chris Eads, known online as Wootini, here with another Gay Gamer video podcast. This week, I did go to the movies. I also, as promised last episode, I did go to the movies after taping that episode. I went to see the 80s classic, The Last Dragon. And unfortunately, AMC has, and other theaters, I just go to AMC, but I'm assuming other theaters do it too, has trained us to know that you don't have to be on time for a movie anymore. You can be 20, 25 minutes late and you'll just miss the trailers and ads because there's a half an hour of that ahead of every movie. And I actually thought, I was like, let me just check. And I checked in the app and it still said, for The Last Dragon, it still said the same thing, that movies will start 20 to 30 minutes after the scheduled showtime. And I said, okay, fine. Not that I was trying to be late, but I was a little late. It was Sunday night, so the trains weren't running great. And I got into Manhattan. I had to walk a ways, and then I got to the theater at like 7:30. And I thought, for the 7:30 show. So like I arrived like around 7:30, but I was like, it's fine. I've got like at least 20 minutes. I can go to the bathroom. I can check my phone. I walked into the theater, and it was only like, 3 or 4 minutes in. It was not even 7:35. And I walk into the theater, and there's no trailers. The movie has begun. I've missed the full opening credits. And Leroy is walking out of his master's houseboat onto the Brooklyn Promenade, which makes literal no logic sense, which if you live in New York, it's hilarious that this is what? No. But it's funny. So I was like so annoyed that I missed the beginning of the movie. But it's fine. It's just the opening credits. Whatever. It was still a great movie. It's very fun. If you've never seen it, you should check it out because it knows that it's cheesy and fun, and it's just great. I was a little disappointed that the audience was so well behaved because there were a couple of people like down the row to my right who I could occasionally hear quietly singing along to songs, but like people weren't like, not that I wanted like a Rocky Horror experience with people shouting "show enough," although that would have been awesome in its own way. I just wanted like some more cheering and more like audience involvement, like get into this. Like you've come to see this movie that you apparently love because you want to see it on the big screen again. And, get into it. But they were very well behaved. As opposed to the audience at the movie I saw yesterday, which was Black Phone 2. Which, honestly, you kind of expect that when you go to see a horror movie in a theater. The audience is not going to be, it's not like a classy drama where the audience wants to see it and they're going to be respectful and quiet because they want to actually watch the movie. It's just a cheesy horror movie. People are going to be stupid and they're going to pull their phones out. And there was like an old Spanish woman who kept talking to her kid that she brought, and people were shushing her. And, somebody behind me had like a really loud bag. Maybe that was popcorn. I don't know, but it was really loud. But whatever. How was the play, Mrs. Lincoln? The movie, I was not a big fan of the original of Black Phone 1. It was fine. Nothing I needed to ever see again. I didn't find it particularly scary. This one is maybe a little scarier because the girl is having like these nightmares that are all like grainy. It's all this like grainy footage dream sequence stuff with like film burn and smash cuts and stuff. And that is reasonably effective at creating kind of a spooky mood, but the whole thing ends up being like this weird riff on like A Nightmare on Elm Street, where Ethan Hawke's grabber is like a Freddy Krueger character who's like torturing her in her dreams, and it's killing her in real life, and like like in the dream world he's doing things like, and it gets a little ridiculous, like the later nightmare stuff where it's like he's in the dream world but he's moving around in the dream world, affecting the real world, and it's just kind of like, okay. But again, he's not particularly scary, but whatever. There's also like the boy and girl from the first movie, the lead from the first movie and his sister. They go to this like Christian youth camp in the middle of winter by a frozen lake. And there's just snow everywhere. It would be a great winter film, not a Halloween movie, I guess. But they go there to try to solve this mystery because she's having these dreams. They've got to like figure out what happened to these dead kids, and like the grabber still features into it, and it's all, the whole thing becomes a little too, like, it's a sequel, but it's also kind of a prequel, with flashbacks to things that happened before the first movie, and it like tries to tie everything all together, and it ends up feeling a little too convenient for me, and I'm just like, eh. And it's also kind of tonally jarring because like you've got these like brutal child murders that are just horrific, but then there's this whole spirit of like family love and kumbaya thing, and it's just sort of super violent and also weirdly gentle at the same time, and it's like, okay, I guess. It's also a little too long. It's pushing 2 hours, and I feel like if you trimmed like a good 15 minutes out of this, maybe 20, and picked up the pace a little, it might not have dragged, and it might have been a little more effective. But whatever. If you like the first one, you'll probably like this. If you didn't like it, you might like this a little bit, but I don't know. Your mileage may vary. As for games, I feel like I've mentioned this in previous episodes, but my game, I don't know what it is with this generation of game consoles and controller drift, but it has never really been this big of a problem before. Like, Nintendo's Switch was just awful. It was so bad that they were like, we're sorry, and if you send us your Joy-Con, we will fix it for you for free. And I even took advantage of it back in the day. And I sent in my left Joy-Con that was drifting, and they sent it back, and it was fixed. Now the right one's drifting. But that's okay, because that's just, like, camera movement. Also, I don't play my Switch that much, so I'm not sending it in for repairs. But my Pro Controller, the left thumbstick started drifting something ridiculous. It was just drift left. So if I'm playing Animal Crossing, and I'm trying to, like, you know, dig a hole or something, like, I will sometimes dig to the left, because I, like, before I can, like, I'll position myself, and then before I can press the button to dig, I turn left. And if I leave my controller, I'll just start walking left until I reach the end of the island. It's annoying. Also, menus are, like, a nightmare to navigate because it keeps trying to go left all the time. So what I did was I ended up buying this cheap Kirby controller, just because it's pink. I don't care about Kirby. I just liked it because it was pink. And it was also cheaper than all the others. It was only like $30. Whereas if I wanted like a black one with some other design, that was gonna run me like 40 to 50. So I was like, $30, a cheap controller. It is licensed by Nintendo, so it is reasonable quality. It takes AA batteries. It's not rechargeable. And it says it has motion controls, which I believe, though I have not actually played anything with motion controls. But it does not have rumble at all, which I don't care. It's not a deal breaker. But the fact that there's no rumble motors in it, it does make the controller feel very light and cheap. And the buttons are also a little cheap and noisy sounding, but like, it's not horrible. Like, it's fine. And like I said, I don't use my Switch that much, so it's fine to play a little Animal Crossing and stuff. And when the Professor Layton game eventually does come out, I can use that there as well. My PlayStation controller is also drifting a bit. The left joystick seems to be going up all the time, which is fine because when you're playing an action game, you know, you're always moving the joystick and whatever. It's a problem like navigating menus in games because it goes and you're like, stop, I want to read this, not that. So, but with the PlayStation, I use my PlayStation all the time, so I will go ahead and spend the $70 or $80 for an official, you know, DualShock or Dual whatever they're calling it this day or age, whatever. I know they have like a newer one that's even better and does something else, but I don't need that one. I just need the basic one. I think it's like $75. You know, I'm gonna have to spend $75 at some point, but not yet because it's not that bad yet. We'll see what happens. As for the actual games, I have not been playing too much Nikki because I finished the last storyline, and I think the new season starts this week, so I'll be playing it a lot in the back end of this week probably, but for right now, I'm not doing a whole lot of Nikki. I did try to do a little stuff around the house, you know, my little island house, and do a bunch of stuff there to try to level up, and I actually got enough points to buy this like very pretty little gazebo that you can place. And I was like, oh, I'll place this like over here by these trees. It'll be really lovely. Except every time I tried to place it, it wouldn't let me save. And I didn't understand why. And I like looked around online, and there were a lot of people in like Reddit threads and stuff complaining about like, oh, it won't let me save this, that, the other thing. And it's been for like the last couple of months, and they're like, oh, they're not changing anything. There's been no updates. It still won't work. I still can't save my new construction and whatever. And I was like, God dang it. And I tried putting it in different places. I tried putting it down by in a whole other area, and it still wouldn't let me save. And I'm like, what the hell? And then I happened to notice that when I was trying to place it, it said I had 0 of them in my inventory. And I'm like, but I saved up my points specifically to buy this, and I bought it. And according to the store menu, I have purchased it. So why is it not in my inventory? And I thought it was a glitch, and I thought it like disappeared, and I'm like, fuck. But it turns out it wasn't a glitch. Like a lot of things, like most things in Infinity Nikki that you think is a bug, it is not a bug. It is simply a lack of tutorials and instruction and confusing menus, which combined are not a great combination. So what happened was there's apparently like these demo versions, because the gazebo I was trying to place was like fully furnished. And I thought it came fully furnished, but no, it comes empty. It's just the frame, and you have to put stuff in it. So I found the actual gazebo that said 0, like you don't have this. But then in a different part of the building menu, I found in my inventory the gazebo, finally. And then it said 1. And I said, okay, great. And so I went to place it. And it placed it, and it was empty. And I said, okay, now I understand what the problem was. And then it let me save it. So then I went in, and I added a whole bunch of furniture and plants and stuff just to make it look pretty inside. And that was a good time killer. Like, it doesn't really do anything, but it looks pretty. Whatever. Like, I don't understand. Like, it doesn't amount to anything. It's just a time killer and something to do. But whatever. The other thing I was killing time with was Disney doing the Halloween Star Path. There was this whole thing where there's candy all over the plaza, and you collect all this candy. And then there was a puzzle where you're supposed to decipher this math puzzle. And it was like, what? And I did not understand it at all. And because you're supposed to go to this like haunted well in the forest that you're supposed to put the certain amount of candy into. Like there's 3 colors, and each color you're supposed to put a certain amount of each color into the well. And then you can unlock your own haunted well that you can place wherever you like. The math, I was like, I don't understand this puzzle. I had to look it up online, and people were like, oh, this is how much. You put 15 of this and 10 of this and 5 of that. And I said, okay, fine. I go to do it, and it's like, okay, add the candy. And I just literally like press the okay, here's the red candy. And you don't have to pick an amount. It just automatically took the right amount. So you didn't have to actually do the math problem anyway. And I was like, what the hell? So whatever. I now have a haunted well, and I unlocked Daisy's Halloween outfit and stuff. So I've been forging through on the Star Path, and in fact I did one of the Star Path duties. I completed it, and then my favorite thing happened where the new one didn't slide in, and I only had 5 left. And I'm like, yay, I'm almost done. Of course, just like all the other Star Paths, now that they have these routine duties, you can't finish the Star Path until the actual end of the Star Path, because the final week you'll have 3 more things that you need to do in order to get the final rewards, and it's like, okay, whatever. But I am mostly done, and so that's well on its way. Oh, and there's also this new thing that started, the floating Halloween island, which is just this, you teleport to it through a special portal in the plaza, and it's this really crowded, cramped space, like full of like Halloween decorations and buildings and stuff. And there are random little puzzles that you solve to get things. And I did solve one of them on my own. I was very proud of myself for figuring it out. It wasn't that hard, really. And there's one that like you need to like collect a whole bunch of crap. And I was going in like multiple times a day so that I could collect more of it. And then I realized that there's 2 more puzzle pieces that come later. There's like still like a week or so left of this. So like it's not that limited time. It's fine. So I don't need to rush, really. It's fine. And you unlock a bunch more Halloween stuff, I guess, but which is always fun. But because I didn't have to play a lot of Nikki, and I wasn't really playing a lot of Disney because I was pretty much wrapping up the Star Path, I was able to really play a lot of Dragon Age. And I finished it. I was not expecting to have it finished by this episode, but I did. It turns out that the ending wasn't quite as prolonged as I thought it was going to be. Basically, as I said last episode, I had to send Harding off on the scouting party, and unfortunately, when we got to the part where we fought Gillenane, which was such an annoying battle, we eventually, I freed all of my companions, and then in the end, Harding sacrificed herself so that we could defeat Gillenane, which was sad. Then there was, everyone went back to the lighthouse and we all like regrouped, and that's where you have conversations with everybody, and that is where you finally have your sex scene. So Davern and I got it on. It was very tastefully done, as they always are. And I was like, you're not going anywhere. We're going to live happily ever after with our baby Griffin. So then you go for the real final battle, and in preparing for the final battle, you have to divvy up your team. And the remaining members of your team, minus Harding, or Davern if you picked him, you have to there's certain groups, like the different factions that you've been working with are going to tackle, this one's going to go over here and do this one's going to go over here and do that, this is going to go over here and do this thing. And you have to assign a member of the Veilguard to go with each team. And again, I had my own ideas of who I wanted to send, and then I looked online just to see if any of it made any difference. And they're like, this is the best person to send here, this is the best person to send there. And I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of who I was going to send anyway, so whatever, it's fine. And I kept Davern with me the whole way through, and I kept Emmerich as well because he has healing power. So, and then we just forged ahead. And there was this massively long cutscene where you see all of your different factions fighting and doing their thing. And I got the impression there was one point where it looked like Tosh got killed. A whole bunch of rubble fell on them. And then you see Rook going, oh no. And then they bust up out of the rubble triumphantly, and they're like, ta-da! And Rook goes, and then heads off to do the mission. And I feel like that's where, if Tosh wasn't a hero of the Veilguard, if I hadn't leveled up their companion quest and made them a hero of the Veilguard, they probably would have died. But since I made everyone a hero of the Veilguard, it was fine. And there was one point where I had to send one person off, and the little side thing on the side was before it said there were 3 sections, and the first 2 were they will give excellent support, and then the last one was the Mourn Watch and the Grey Wardens, and I know the Mourn Watch was only a 2-star. I don't remember where the Grey Wardens were, maybe 2, maybe 3. I think they might have been 2, but they were going to offer moderate support, and I was like, ugh, that could be a little dicey, but it turned out to be fine. And I think I worried about nothing. I think as long as everyone is 2 to 3 stars and everyone is a hero of the Veilguard, no one will die. During various cutscenes, there were points where I got the impression that somebody might oh no, but then they're fine. And it's because they're a hero of the Veilguard. And then after your big battles and stuff, then you go in and you recuperate, and there's a section where they're oh, go and you can pay your respects. There's a room full of dead people, and you can go in there and pay your respects. And Rook just sort of goes in there, and it's all these tables with bodies, and they're all covered in sheets. And he doesn't lift the sheet or anything. So I'm maybe because no major characters died, maybe if a major character had died, you would mourn them in this room and say something, but he just sort of went, these are some randos who died, oh well, and then like you go on with your business. So I don't know, because nobody died. And then in the final battle, they're like, okay, we're gonna head up to attack Elgranon, and the ground forces you need to send somebody with the ground forces. And here I actually said, okay, you know what? Davrin is a Grey Warden. He's good with frontline combat. I'm gonna send him. I don't think he's gonna die. Because by that point I was like, I don't think he'll die. I don't need to keep him with me. It's fine. And I took Lucanus and Nev into the final battle with me, and we killed Elgranon and saved the day, and everything was fine. And no one died. Well, I mean, a bunch of people died, but none of the main characters died. And not even the main supporting characters died. So it was all good. So I think I worried about nothing. I got basically the best ending, because at the end you have to deal with Solus, and you can either like try to persuade him to do the right thing, or fight him to force him to do the right thing. Or in my case, I had an extra dialogue option because I had done this wicked long side quest way back in the beginning of the game, in the middle of the game, where I, managed to get this character, his old lover, like his old elven companion, whose name escapes me right now, but I got her on my side, and I was able to use that to persuade Solus to do the right thing. And like literally everyone had happy endings. Well, except for Harding, because she's dead. And I guess Tosh, because she lost her girlfriend, but whatever. Yeah, so that's Dragon Age Veilguard. Done. Yay, me. So, I don't know. I know that it was very poorly received, and people complained about it. From what I have read about it, I know a lot of that complaining was based on the Tosh character and, the non-binary discovery and all that sort of thing. And, some people felt it's too heavy-handed and obvious and whatever. And then some people were like, it's woke, like that sort of thing. I didn't mind it. I thought it was fine. Some people complained about the gameplay. Some people complained it's not Dragon Age. I was never a huge Dragon Age fan. I only ever really played Inquisition. So, and that was a decade ago. So I don't remember to say oh, this wasn't in the same spirit. It didn't feel the same. It felt fine. It was an RPG full of characters. And the only complaint that I would give them is the complaint about the graphics, where the facial animations, all the characters look slightly cartoony. They're not super photorealistic or anything. But I didn't mind that. I got used to it. But that's really the only complaint. I found the combat was fine. The story was fine. People complained about the dialogue. I thought it was fine. I don't know. It was a perfectly good RPG, but it tanked, and it went to PlayStation Plus a month after release or whatever. And I played it as part of my subscription, and I enjoyed it. It was an entertaining RPG with some choices, and I got the good ending, so yay me. And now it's on to, I actually have not yet purchased Ghost of Yotei. I think what I want to do is I want to play Viewfinder before that, because that looked so cool that I kind of want to try that and see if it's as cool as it seems. It just looks so visually neat, stepping into the pictures, and just very creative. So I kind of want to play that. I also don't think it's going to be a long game. And I also still want to play the cabin inspection game, because the Cabin Factory, because I just think that would be good for Halloween. So I might still buy that. So come back next episode, and I will talk about Viewfinder, and I'll probably talk about the Cabin Factory. And then once I've had my Halloween fill, once November comes around, I think that's when I'm going to splurge and get myself the Ghost of Yotei, and not make a whole lot of progress because I'll be too busy taking pretty pictures of everything. Come back and find out what I've been playing. See you then. Bye!